Chapter 5 Social Reform in the Progressive Era. Between 1880 and 1914, around 21 million immigrants arrived in the United States and bore the brunt of industrialization in northern and Midwest cities. During this time, employers were unsympathetic to unions, and there were very few policies and programs to protect people from disease, poverty, discrimination, disability, crime, fire, and poor living conditions. The Depression of 1893 to 1896 brought disenchantment with corporate owners. Americans started to wonder if the growth of the industry was a blessing. Many people became alarmed at the size and power of corporations. Progressives and reformers began to challenge public opinion and question the U.S. as a model society because of the social ills that were now coming to light. During this time, there was a spectrum of social unrest. Most immigrant workers did not speak English. There was an emergence of radical fringe groups, and a dark side of progressivism began to show with prejudice against immigrants, African Americans, and even women. Major reforms during the Progressive era included expansion of voting power, bank regulations, conditions of employment, food and drug regulation, child labor laws, and regulated housing. The, the Bull Moose Campaign of 1912. Democratic and Republican parties had strong conservative wings. After William Howard Taft defeated Theodore Roosevelt for the Republican nomination, the Progressive Party convinced Roosevelt to run for president under the newly formed Bull Moose Party. During the Progressive era, there were many subgroups struggling with oppression. Women remained shackled by tradition but began to engage in political action later, securing suffrage with the passing of the 19th Amendment. African Americans in the North struggled with poverty and oppression, while African Americans in the South still dealt with Jim Crow laws. Plessy v. Ferguson in 1896 upheld the Jim Crow laws between whites and African Americans until 1954 when it was reversed. Asian and Spanish speaking Americans faced many of the same oppressions, like the Alien Law Act of 1907, which prohibited Japanese Americans from owning land, and Immigration Act of 1917, which required a literacy test. Social reformers were active from 1890 until World War II. The emergence of social workers began in the 1920s, led by Jane Addams. During the Progressive era, progressives obtained a remarkable success in the light of many barriers and challenges they faced, with some of the main being workmen's compensation, the social work profession, women's suffrage, a national network of hospitals, and juvenile courts.